Garrett Bay Road is one of those roads that many tourists actually seek out and drive because the trees create this cathedral effect over the road. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, and you're not in a hurry. Because of the increasing loss of these unique spaces, it is absolutely required of the elected officials to seek out the best way to preserve these spaces. Not something that simply means, well, we've got to widen it because of this or that, but recognize that some of these roads are now becoming so rare that you have to go farther than what might be mandated and challenge that mandate and preserve these spaces. These habitats are sensitive. We're losing them at a rapid rate, and we must preserve them in the places where they still exist. And the northern end of Door County happens to be remote enough from most of the traffic that there's more of those habitats up there. If you cut 12 feet away from that road, it won't grow back the same way. And it will take many years for even part of it to grow back. So the character of the road is changed and gone in the lifetime of the people that live there now. I think the ball was dropped here. Even though compromises were made and they cut the amount of cutback that was going to occur down to about 6 feet on either side, that will still profoundly affect the character of the road, and it's not necessary. Yes, some of the things will grow back, but it takes many years, sometimes many decades, for these things to grow back. Why not just leave it? It's simple, it's less expensive, it's what most of the people want. You've got to be better. You've got to stand up and do what the people want and realize that these unique spaces, even if you were born and raised in Door County, or if you moved there with your folks when you were a teenager, or if you retired there later on, we all live here. And this is an important thing to realize, that these spaces are unique, they're going away, and these incremental chipping away at such wonderful spaces is the formula for having them all gone in the future. That these habitats are sensitive, we're losing them at a rapid rate, and we must preserve them in the places where they still exist. And the northern end of Door County happens to be remote enough from most of the traffic that there's more of those habitats up there. That's why Garrett Bay Road is so important, and it is connected to the ecosystems of the Niagara Escarpment. I think a fundamentally important aspect of Garrett Bay Road is an understanding of the preservation of unique spaces in Door County. Unique spaces can be natural areas. They can also be things like scenic roads. A scenic road, such as Garrett Bay, is now becoming a rare commodity in Door County, and Garrett Bay Road is one of those roads that many tourists actually seek out and drive because the trees create this cathedral effect over the road. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, and you're not in a hurry. I was on the county board. I know what the battles are, and I know how hard it is to stand up for your ideals. But the fact is, because of these unique spaces, you have to actually stand up for these ideals. And as far as I know from my talking to a lot of people up there, and still being a property owner in Door County, most of the people that I know want that road to stay as it is. The tendency is to keep making these things wider and wider so that anything can happen on them. Then we're not going to have any of these unique spaces. And these unique spaces are very, very important. Interestingly enough, this road is also a bellwether type thing for the Niagara Escarpment and its preservation. If we can go so close to this amazing cliff and its fragile habitats all along it, and argue that, yes, we have to make roads wider, even though the speed limit is very low and it's not heavily used, and people can get by each other, then what's to stop another town council from voting in actions or practicing actions that damage other habitats?
This is Access Door County. I'm your host today. I'm Pete Devlin. And we're sitting at a table at Silver Poplar Studios, north of Ellison Bay. And it's really a delightful mid-October day. But we're talking about the loss of trees in the community. Sitting around the table with me are Bob Boltman. He is an ecologist. Carol Moronic, who's along with her husband Jim, who's beside me here, are the owners of this property that we're on. We have Henry, is it Godbout?
Godbout, yeah.
Okay. And you are a Gills Rock resident. Susie Watson, also a Gills Rock resident. And I'm probably going to stumble on your name, Cindy. It's Cindy Shaulis?
Correct.
Ellison Bay residents. All right. And we're here to talk about the clearing of trees along the side of Garrett Bay Road in the town of Liberty Grove.
Did we meet Jim? Oh, okay.
I mentioned Jim briefly in saying that he was the other half of that owns this property. And
I'm the silent half.
Well, we're in a discussion concerning what is happening to the trees along certain roads here in the town of Liberty Grove. And I guess I'll turn to you first, Carol. And what is it that you are saying is wrong about the project in Garrett's Bay Road?
Well, Garrett Bay is, we feel, is an icon of one of the last remaining beautiful undisturbed roads in Northern Door. There are sections of it which we call the cathedral because they have that effect when you go through, even in winter, because the trees are massive, they're very tall, they're very old. They give you a sense of amazement. We've been living here since '88, and every time we go down that road and go through those three sections, which we call the Cathedral of the Canopy, and even when there is no canopy, but just the trunks of the trees themselves, it's absolutely one of the most beautiful roads left. And the reason for its impressiveness is that many of the large trees are close to the edge of the road. And for years, no one has seemed to have had a problem with it, except perhaps occasionally the people who plow the snow and cut the grass along the edge, because it makes it a little more difficult for them. Mm-hmm. But they've managed for a long, long time. We have tried to work with the town for years and negotiated and discussed possibilities of how to preserve at least that part of the road for posterity. My husband, and he could talk more about this, I think, has called it a road museum. We wish that they could keep it as part of history, just as you would preserve a building or an art piece of art. Mm-hmm. It is that special. It is old. You shouldn't tamper with it. It's environmentally, it's an environmental gem, and it deserves to be preserved and passed on to the generations coming up.
Why we're gathered here today really speaks to a sense of place. Mm-hmm. And what kind of communities we want to have, what kind of decisions we make as far as how we manage the communities we have. The Door Peninsula is a very prominent segment of the Niagara Escarpment, which is a very diverse landscape feature, and it's has a lot of biodiversity, many different types of plants and animals that call the Niagara Escarpment corridor home, and also a lot of rare and endangered plants and animals that call the Niagara Escarpment corridor home. And to have such a roadway that is canopied, I think really gives a sense of awe. There are very few places where you can drive down the road and have treetop, basically a canopied roadway. And when you start opening up any kind of gap in the canopy, you're bringing an opportunity for more light, which obviously that's a natural part of the cycle. But when it happens, in a short term, or when a lot of it happens in a short amount of time, you really are looking at a larger scale disturbance that can start to foster invasive plants and invasive shrubs along the roadway. Right now, the road in question, Garrett Bay Road, is so canopied that everything, all the plants right alongside of the road are basically native plants. I think about places I've visited in Europe, places I've lived in Massachusetts, where healthy trees right on the side of the road are not seen as a liability, but are actually seen as an asset. Trees that are, in some cases, hundreds of years old, without a single scar on them, and they're literally within a foot of the road. In some places, I remember a tree in Massachusetts on a connector road, just like this road, a community connector road. The asphalt went around the tree, and there wasn't even a scar on it. 300-year-old tree that would take, well, as big as this table, take two and a half people to get your arms around. Again, not seen as a liability, but as an asset. So I think the notion of, what are the standards? They're completely arbitrary.
What can the harm be in removing 6 feet of flora from the side of the road?
Yeah, anytime you have a disturbance in the landscape, when you disturb the ground or disturb the light balance, you have the opportunity for weeds to grow. Again, some native plants rely on that, but being a roadside, it's something we have to be really careful of. So that would be the other follow-up is anytime you do road maintenance, there should be follow-up for weed control on the side of the road. So often we just go and blaze through and we do the work, and then 2-3 years later, no follow-up has been done, and we have a lot more weeds and invasive plants growing along the roadside. So I think things have to be done a little bit more selectively. And again, I go back to just kind of questioning the arbitrary nature of what standards are we actually following. I mean, a tree on the side of the road, a healthy living tree on the side of the road, I don't understand why that's a problem. We've been living with it for a long time. To me, that's, when I move through the landscape, when anybody moves through the landscape, whether you're on foot or in a vehicle, isn't it nice to have a canopied roadway? I mean, it's nice to have vistas as well, and we preserve those too. The Grand View is a great example. We aren't going to plant a bunch of trees at the top of the Grand View. We want that to be a view shed. That's important. But there are places where we should have completely canopied trails and roads to move along. And again, whether I'm walking or whether I'm in a car, I feel that sense of sacredness when there's canopy across the roadway, and I think many people share that. And so that's where I kind of wonder what the mentality is and why we get our heels dug in so about paving roads to some standards that are completely arbitrary. This issue speaks to sense of place and what kind of community we're trying to maintain for ourselves to enjoy and to appreciate, and for our children and for the future. Trees do grow back, and certainly in the future we'll probably do a better job of maintaining large trees right on the sides of the road. These days cars are getting all kinds of sensors on them, so they'll beep when you're too close to things. I mean, why are we worried about trees right on the side of the road? It doesn't make sense. And again, just making comparisons to places I visited in Europe, a place I lived in Massachusetts that had rock outcrops right on the side of the road, and very large trees right on the side of the road that were not seen as a liability, but were seen as an asset, and were part of that winding, meandering daily commute. Again, the road I lived on was a connector road, just like Garrett Bay Road is, and there were large trees and rock outcrops, granite outcrops, right on the side of the road. We actually, our house had a rock outcrop right in front of it, and our mailbox would be the place we'd put the hubcaps for when people bumped the outcrop a little bit too hard. They lost their hubcap, and then a couple days later their hubcap would be picked up. And we didn't collect hubcaps. They just, once we saw one laying in the grass, we'd set it by the mailbox, and a few days later it would be gone. And there was no effort to blast away the rock or cut these 300-year-old oak trees just down the block, where the asphalt actually, the one tree actually went around the tree a little bit. To me, that was a special place, a special road to live on. Why you would change that is beyond me.
I've seen that one place here in Door County, on the road into is it Ellison Bay Bluff County Park?
Oh yeah.
Pavement goes around it.
Yeah. So that it isn't
that's the one place.
But it isn't what I'm getting at is it isn't a foreign concept
right
in this part of Door County.
And it would be argued, I think, that road is just a gravel road into a park. It's not a connector road. I would argue that we should have trees in the middle of the road more often. Highway 55 on up along the Wolf River in Menominee County on the Menominee Indian Reservation. When I was a kid, the road was dippy and curvy, and there were trees in the middle of the road in several places. And of course, the state in their infinite wisdom said, well, that's a liability, we need to cut those down. Again, what kind of life are we trying to live, and what kind of quality of life and sense of place do we want? I say, let's have trees on the side of the road. There's nothing wrong with that.
Henry, why are you here today?
I'm a farm boy from northern Vermont. So I grew up with nature and beautiful places. And out here, it's very similar. I fell in love with the landscape. I fell in love with the wild animals, the habitat. And every year, a smaller piece of my soul gets chipped away when I see the destruction of trees, the animals, their habitat shrinking all the time. I think people here can speak more eloquently about the beauty. I also have a strong feeling about how we're going to pay for this type of destruction. It's bad enough that we're doing it, but we can't afford it. The people have overwhelmingly said, we don't want it, you can't afford it, and it will look ugly. But it doesn't seem to matter. What's kind of happened with this town politics is, and it's a brilliant strategy on their part, they go road by road and say, well, that's a small vocal minority. And then they go the next road. But the problem is the citizens haven't been able to come together at one time. If this strategy was told to them, for example, if you went down tomorrow and told the people on Beach Road, there's a stretch from the ice cream factory right up, I don't know how many miles, it's just absolutely, the trees are right on top of the road. I'm sure if you told those people, you would have another small vocal minority, albeit a very rich one. And I'm wondering how that will play out in the future.
And Susie, for you, what's your reason for being here?
Well, my husband and I have been very involved in the past with trying to keep things in the northern end of Door County as they are, because we feel very strongly in the sense of place. We feel very strongly that people who come here for a reason. And it isn't to be in a heavily populated area. It isn't to be in a manicured suburb. It's to be in a place that looks like it does, and you like it this way, and that's why we came here. So what we don't understand is, because all of these like-minded people feel the same way, what we don't understand is how do 4 board members get to trump the populace who, in total, all agrees that the trees should stay. So this is really not a situation where 50% of the people believe this and 50% believe the other side. This is a situation where 4 people are making a decision, non-representative of the entire populace, who in some cases elected them, in some cases they were just simply appointed. So we think we have a real problem, a power struggle here between really a handful of people and the populace who chooses to live here and wants it just the way it is. We don't really see a reason for that at all. And we've seen historically how Emma Toft went through the same exact thing with the curvy highway that goes to the point of Northport. The state tried to straighten that road. There's been people who will fight this throughout time. Jens Jensen chose the clearing on this road. Why? Because it was a beautiful spot. One of the top landscape architects of our time. So you've got so many situations up here that ironically are all about keeping this kind of a place exactly as it is, because that's who lives here, people that like it that way. And for some reason, we have a town board who does not agree with their populace. And it's a very uneven situation. I'd say that we are definitely the vocal majority. We're not a minority at all. The majority feels this way. They don't happen to come to meetings and vote for it, but who hates trees? Not many people.
How about you, Cindy?
Well, I guess I can echo everybody's comments so far because I love this place and see it changing dramatically. And so when we have the opportunity to try to change it, that's why I'm here. I met and heard of Jim Moronic a few years ago when I heard that he had come up with a program called this Heritage Road Program so that there would be certain roads in the county selected because they were similar to Garrett Bay. And there are many. You don't have to drive very far to find many, many roads that are special like Garrett Bay. And Jim had done an extensive amount of research. I have no concept of how long and how hard he must have worked to put together a program like this that would select certain roads, the citizens would select certain roads, and then the maintenance standards for those roads would be different from the roads that we use on a regular basis. And I thought, that's such a good idea. I thought that everybody who'd heard of it would celebrate it, because here we have somebody who lives here who's taken the time to do extensive research, not for himself, but for the good of all. And I thought, wow, this is great. And then, as I follow along and attend some meetings, soon I learned that certain roads that should, by my standards anyway, be considered heritage roads will not be considered because they've already been selected to have maintenance done on them. And we can't backtrack and say we can't hold off on the maintenance because it's in the book or it's in the
5-year
it's in
plan.
Just
plan.
because.
So I guess that's really been one of my big struggles is we have a populace here who has done a tremendous work in doing research, in attempting to preserve what we have. And they're not appreciated, but they're held suspect as though it is being done for their own benefit. Well, it's being done for the benefit of all. I stop bikers on Garrett Bay Road or walkers on Garrett Bay Road. They come here to get away from the hustle and the bustle of the big cities, away from the hustle and bustle of Fish Creek, Sister Bay, Ephraim. They come here to just enjoy the road and all that it provides. And that's my concern, and that's why I'm here, and I hope we can do something about it to keep Garrett Bay the way it is. Bob talked about the escarpment. We're on this natural, beautiful, incredible escarpment that is an international zone that people internationally are working to protect roads on it. And we're saying it's just like any other road. The Highway Committee said, I think we should treat all roads the same.
When we first moved here, we immediately looked into the rustic road program that Wisconsin had, because doesn't that sound like a wonderful name for a program? And so we looked into that for Cottage Road up on the north end there.
We did the same for our road here.
Yes, and as soon as you
We
found
were
out,
rejected.
as soon as you talked to Jane Carroll, who's still in charge of that program, what we found out was that is not about protecting a beautiful road. It is merely about taking a road that's already been completely changed and possibly completely repaved, redeveloped, whatever, and then saying, this is a rustic road. Now, when we found that out, it's a completely different set of situation than Jim and Carol's idea for Heritage Road. And I've had people ask me, why do we need a Heritage Road program when we have the Rustic Road program? I said, because the Rustic Road program is not about protecting anything. The Heritage Road program is about having different standards, like you said, different maintenance standards, different standards, period. And the Rustic Road does none of that, which is a very sad thing. It is not a maintenance program.
Also, it brings a lot of tourists in on buses to ride around in those neighborhoods because there are books that are printed that
Say
that,
this, yes.
you know, say this is a rustic road, and a lot of the people who live on those roads aren't really crazy about the idea of having bus loads of people driving down their road, although bicyclists and pedestrians and individual drivers are fine. But the thing that is nice about the Heritage Road is that we never planned when this was developed to do anything, any booklets or anything to really promote it, except just very gently, but to let people discover the road themselves, and where there might be a sign there would be a sign identifying it as a heritage road that people would find by accident, or maybe there might be a map in the town that might show some dots where some special roads are, but it was not intended to bring in
Tour buses.
and so it was a very low key, but did have protections, which rustic roads
Yes, which
do
doesn't.
not necessarily.
Well, why don't we get to Jim, who
Right,
who has been credited here with developing the concept.
Jim and his
Tell
committee.
me, tell me a bit about that. What brought it about?
The need for protection. The recognition that there are certain roads in Door County, in northern Door County, in Liberty Grove, that are worthy of extra attention in terms of their need for protection and preservation. We've been talking about the canopy on Garrett Bay Road in the present tense, but as we sit here, you can hear the chainsaws off in the distance. That canopy is in the process, even as we speak, of being destroyed. We've been on this issue for a couple of years now, and to this moment, I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Every argument that has been advanced has been debunked, and there's no sensible reason that I can see for what the town is doing to Garrett Bay Road. If this were Washington, D.C. instead of Door County, D.C., there would be certain icons like the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and Congress, well, maybe not Congress, that everybody knows and loves and comes to appreciate. Now, it would be like saying, well, an errant vehicle might bump into the Lincoln Memorial, we better take that down. We have grass cutting machines on the mall, and this thing gets in our way, so we got to take that down. That's what we're saying here in Door County, in Liberty Grove, about Garrett Bay Road. That's what we have said, because it is now, unfortunately, in the past tense. We formed a Heritage Road subcommittee to develop the program.
The subcommittee of what, if I may ask?
Of the town board.
Of the town board?
Yes, of the town
Okay.
board, yes. And that subcommittee would report to the Highway Committee, which in turn reports to the Board of Supervisors of Liberty Grove. So the Heritage Road Subcommittee did its work in developing a Heritage Road program, and then it moved on to developing the mechanics of nominating heritage roads for the approval of the town, and then it went on to developing road maintenance guidelines, which were different from the standard road maintenance guidelines. So there's a standard road maintenance policy, and now the Heritage Road Subcommittee developed guidelines that differ significantly from that standard road maintenance policy, allowing trees to grow close to the road and so forth. At that point, the Heritage Road Subcommittee was dissolved by the town, saying that that's enough. The Highway Committee can take it from there. And to make a long story short, things got curtailed more and more as it went along, to the point where now everything's tabled on hold, and the one road in all of Liberty Grove, which is the most eligible to be a heritage road, was never
Allowed to be.
never allowed to be,
nominated.
and instead
Nominated.
the chainsaws are out there as we speak.
From the point that the subcommittee was formed, the Heritage Road Subcommittee was formed, until it was essentially dissolved by the town board, how much of a change in membership on the town board had there been? Was there a significant turnover?
Yeah. We had Bob Tidball who left.
Yes.
So therefore, the new broom essentially that came in decided to sweep clean and said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks.
I don't think they were
No.
ever cared for this program. I don't think
They
had
did at the
great
beginning.
support, did they?
Most of the board did. Things changed.
I think it's a style of governing in this town, and it's kind of like the town bully, the schoolyard bully. They're going to tell you exactly how it's going to be. This happened when we were up against this $20 million marina in Gills Rock, believe it or not. And the only reason we were able to stop that was because the voters could vote on it. When this was going on with the Heritage Roads, there was a town meeting, our annual meeting, where they voted, where the people voted, they said that we don't want any more of these conflicts of interest.
On the committees.
On the committees, particularly the road committees. We saw the same thing on the Marina Committee. You had conflicts of interest, cronyism. It was unbelievable. And it's the same playbook today. But the only difference is there's not a vote. You can't vote on it.
Yeah, if it was to be
So-
voted on, obviously, the trees would
Yeah.
not be getting cut.
Yeah. So, you ask, once again, back to the financial part of it, why are you doing this? You can't even afford it, yet you're racing to destroy this beautiful landmark. And that's what, history, the people involved in this will go down as villains, as the people who, basically destroyed these beautiful areas. And there was a story that you should tell about Nora Bly's book in early 80s.
Jim's brought that up. The story which was the Death of a Country Road,
Yes.
which was ironically about Isleview, the
Right.
first road that they ruined, and that was in the 80s. And that was when it was still a dirt road, and they had to improve that and had to improve that, and now they've done that again so that it looks just like a suburban, it could be any suburban roadway anywhere. They just had to do it, and they do it in the name of safety, and that is just a big crock. So it is not about safety at all, but they will lean on safety every time to say the same thing Jim said. Well, what if someone hits that tree? I mean, please. So it's not about safety, but that is what they will say, and that's really been their only argument.
What is it about then?
It's about power. It's about the power of a town board that does not want to, they want to win. And I actually heard someone say that someone on the board said, well, the people that are for, the tree huggers want to win. And I'm like, the tree huggers care about the trees. You want to win. You don't care about the trees, but the tree huggers want the trees to win. And they want all of us to win for this sense of place. But the idea that we're the ones that want to win, the town board is clearly, they're power tripping.
Yeah, but these are serious conflicts of interest where people are put in on these committees who
Who build roads.
or somebody
Highway committee is-
or somebody that was for protecting the roads was kicked off the committee. This is the same thing that happened with the marina committees. They kicked off anybody
Who disagreed.
who disagreed with them, and this is why there's this philosophy now to brand anybody who's challenging this as being un-American,
Uncivil.
uncivil. Yeah.
What can
So-
you do about it?
The only
Go to the polls.
the only answer is to vote them out and vote someone else in. That's the issue.
Well, now it's my turn
Yeah.
because that's where we left off when you said, now I hear you were ejected from a meeting.
Yes, I was going to get back to that. So let's hear what
So
you.
what can you do about it? Well, what we've always hoped to do about it was to get more people involved, to have people write letters if they're not in town, to go to meetings if they are, and speak up at public input. And the public input must be provided. It is an opportunity for the town residents, the taxpayers, even tourists. We did have someone came by here on a bike, and he was lamenting that he had heard about what was going to happen. He had grown up here, rode his bike when he was a kid. He came to the meeting. He was probably in his 50s, brought his son and his daughter with him, stood up at the town meeting, a town public input at the highway committee, and said, I've been coming here for years. I'm a tourist. I don't even own property here, but please don't do what you're planning to do with the Garrett Bay Road, because this is why we're here. This is why we've been coming year after year. It's people like him and people who live here and people who visit here who care, and they should be allowed to speak. At that particular meeting, we had been very concerned about the cost, as Susie and Henry mentioned, and we were hoping that at least that could be addressed at that meeting, in addition to the fact that a lot of people wanted to speak about the aesthetics of the road and why it should be preserved and the history of it. But we were not allowed to speak on that subject. And apparently...
Were you told why you weren't allowed to speak?
They were tired of it.
Well, the reason they give is that it's a done deal. We've already passed the resolution that this is going to happen the way it's planned to. We don't, and nothing is, you can't add anything new. Well, there would have been something new at that meeting, because there were a lot of people there who were taxpayers who I think this time came because they wanted to find out how much is this going to cost and can we afford it, and we would like to know more, and perhaps we don't approve of your doing that. They didn't approve of that. There were 60 plus people at that meeting. And when they talked about, suddenly it became obvious, because the town chairman said, well, we are not going to allow Garrett Bay Road. We will have public input sans Garrett Bay, in French, for those. So there were probably about 40% of the people didn't even understand what he meant. But anyway, finally it became clear, and it was not voted on. I simply asked, I stood when it was my turn for public input and asked the question. I didn't hear a vote on that decision. Why not? Am I correct? Did you vote on this? No one wanted to answer the question, but I persisted in saying I didn't hear the answer. Was there a vote on this? No, there was a consensus. I asked, well, I don't think that the two people that out of 5 that I saw speaking is a consensus. Could I just see a show of hands of the board who did vote in favor of not allowing Garrett Bay to be discussed by any of these 50 plus people who are here specifically for that? And I was told to sit down and be quiet. And I didn't. I was quiet, but I didn't sit down. And so I was warned to sit down, and I said I'm waiting for an answer. And then I was told that, and then everybody else stood up who was in favor of our getting an answer and stood silently, and then we were all asked to leave. And I was the last one, and I didn't really want to leave, and so I was forced to leave. So that's how it happened.
I don't know.
I didn't expect to do that day. I came thinking I was going to speak on public input about something related to Garrett Bay Road. I never dreamed that this was going to occur at that meeting, nor did anyone else.
I don't know if you've heard, and I don't know the veracity of this claim, but I hear down in Surgeon Bay I heard it first at the county highway committee meeting this past Monday, that the police were ready for you this time because the last meeting you threw a chair.
Oh, isn't that great?
And hit a coffee maker. You personally did that.
You're kidding.
That is what is going around and what I heard at the county highway committee meeting Monday morning.
Oh my gosh. There was
Tuesday
an incident the meeting before, but it was not myself. It was someone else who was protesting because she felt her freedom of speech rights were also being violated because she wasn't allowed to finish speaking. And she had several outbursts during the meeting, including one when the head of one of the committees used some vulgar language at the podium, and she again objected, saying, how can you let him do that, and I can't even finish my sentence when I'm speaking civilly. And that's when she got angry, but she didn't throw a chair or a coffee pot. But they did send a sheriff to her house afterwards. But
Well-
that may be what they're referring
Yeah.
to, but
There were no
Well,
chairs
it-
thrown.
isn't that
you,
odd?
you got
Oh.
painted with that brush.
Oh
then.
my gosh.
But now-
Were they
Wow.
proud?
That's the way it'll go down in
Were they-
history, Carol. That's great.
Now,
Did they think it was a good idea?
No, not
No.
especially,
No,
no.
no.
Well, I hope to clarify right now that I
Yeah.
never did that.
Never
All I
took
did
a
was
chance.
stand silently and was pushed out of the room along with, the other people left finally. So there were about 25 or 20 to 30 people standing in the vestibule. And then we were then asked to leave the
To go
vestibule
further
to go
away.
out. Yeah.
Now, I would also add that any of the people who remained in the meeting felt the same way about Garrett Bay Road. They just had other items on the agenda.
Right.
So,
So several of them joined us after their agenda item was brought up,
That's true.
so that there were probably very few people left.
Well, here we are with you. You've lost the battle on Garrett Bay Road.
Not,
Oh,
not
don't say
no,
that.
totally.
Well, but you,
Trees
you,
have are
okay,
being
you,
cut.
you've been forced to retreat. How's that?
trees have
We've seen the
lost.
future. It's not
Yeah.
looking good. Yeah.
Well, the question then is, where do you go from here?
Well, there's still, the road construction is ahead of us, and that's going to cost a lot of money. That happens next year. The easy part was to cut the trees, and the least expensive thing. And now the trees will be gone, a
Which
lot
was
of major
which was
trees.
their whole goal.
I don't know, I haven't seen it today. I don't really know if I can deal with it. There is one giant oak tree that is the most magnificent tree that's like this, right up close to the edge, but not endangering anything. And I don't think it will be there at the end of the day. And it's too bad. Along with a lot of other beautiful
Yeah.
maples and ash and so
My
forth.
understanding, they're doing they're pulverizing, and they'll do a new overlay of asphalt, 20-foot wide. Are they going to add shoulders then?
Yes, they
Yes.
have to add deep shoulders because there's quite some drop-offs there, and they'll probably fill every ditch with loads and loads of gravel.
6
See,
feet.
see,
Jim can talk about that.
See, I feel sorry for, you guys, you're clinging to the hope that they're going to do the right thing. It's not going to happen. We've seen this before. Let's talk, let's listen to you, let's walk down the road hand in hand with you. But at the end of the day, it's like the old show trials in Stalinist Russia. They had the answer already. You're going to get 15, 25 years, but it's going to be a nice public spectacle. And this is what's happening here. And I'm a student of history, so
for show.
I see this happening over and over in Liberty Grove.
But it's not confined to just one community, is it?
Actually, Liberty Grove is particularly contentious, I would say. I think we have a situation where we never thought we would yearn for the days of one of our past supervisors, or our past chairman, but he was at least very transparent. This is a much more sophisticated group of people who hold their cards closer to the vest. So it's a little more difficult because they definitely, I agree with Henry, they decide what they're going to do, and the fact that we don't get to vote on this is all they ever have to remember, because in the end they get to do whatever they want as long as they're in office.
Incidentally, we did offer to interview members of the town board for this program as well, and to the man, they declined the invitation. Or ignored it, yes.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, well,
Do
And
we-
the town administrator as well.
Yes. So
yeah.
why don't we start with you, Jim, and any closing thoughts on this, including what the reconstruction will entail?
Well, the reconstruction will fix the potholes and the cracks in the asphalt, and that's just fine. What we were hoping to preserve and protect will have been gone in a matter of days. So, fixing the asphalt is a piece of cake.
But Jim, it's the 6-foot clear zone, I think, that you haven't.
But the
mentioned.
6-foot clear zone will have been cleared to 6 feet, and that's
Yeah.
I guess you say you hear the sound of the chainsaws in the background. What about when they bring in the stump grinder? What do you think? How are you going to react to that?
I'd love to throw some.
I'm going to take a road trip to Chicago. That's what I'm going to do.
To get it to the quiet, right?
Yeah, where there's peace and quiet.
All right.
And,
Well, you always hope that perhaps programs like this will make a difference for other roads in the county in the future, for other trees. We're looking for the future of this precious peninsula that we live on. It's very small, it's very precious. We have to take care of it, and we have to remain active and remind people. It's very comfortable to come up here and get comfortable and just let things happen. But if we don't just want to let things happen, we have to take a stand.
I agree. It takes vigilance, and what people don't understand who are complaining about being polite to everyone and civility is that that's not what gets things done in the end. And this group has shown that, and I think that the Moronics are to be complimented on taking their stand and holding on to it, because it is not a popular stance, as Emma Toft would tell you. People today look back and go, she must have been a really sweet little old lady to make all this happen. Well, far from it. So being sweet is not what protects things. It's taking the tough stands and saying the tough things, because believe me, no amount of civility helped. And I saw this process from day one. They couldn't have been more civil at the beginning. The entire program was so civilly handled, and we could not understand how the town board could react the way it did. So believe me, it's just textbook as far as I'm concerned on how to handle introducing a program like the Heritage Road program was introduced.
Henry, some final thoughts?
I don't think it's over yet for everything, but I think you're going to start seeing more of the hypocrisy. We've seen it where safety is very important on these roads, but now there are much more dangerous roads, in Liberty Grove. And, it's going to be interesting to see if those roads will be saved, or not. Whether more wealth will have more influence, I know the town chairman lives on Beach Road, and, he hasn't had the experience yet of his cedars being slashed with that giant rotating mower, or, that type of thing, or his neighbors. And I think that's something that we'll see in the future.
I've heard an old saying that when it comes to the election, you should always vote for the incumbent for town chairman, because his road's already been paved. I'm sorry, Carol, any last thoughts?
A couple, yes. I'm glad that Henry brought up the fact that we have always tried to remain civil and respectful. We have been persistent. The persistency is, I think, what has made some members of the town board angry at us, because we have not given up. We are always optimistic that things might change, but we have always been respectful and civil in our discussions at the town board level. Even the evening when this eviction or ejection occurred, there was nothing ever done that was unpleasant or loud or violent on the part of anyone, except for the deputy, taking it upon himself to interpret the rules based on what the board was telling him, rather than his own knowledge of what
Was lawful.
rights, what the real laws are.
Take them all out. Take them all out. Let's go. Everybody standing, start going out. Everybody standing, start heading out.
For standing?
For standing. Yes.
There's law against standing?
Out.
Is that, I just want to clarify.
Yes.
It's for standing.
Out.
If we don't leave, what for standing?
I'll get more deputies here and you'll be arrested.
Under what law?
It's up here. It's your choice.
On what law? What
Disorderly
ordinance?
conduct.
For standing.
Just interrupting a meeting.
I'm not interrupting. I'm asking, I'm standing.
I'm not going to debate this. You gonna go or am I going to arrest you?
For standing, you're arresting me.
Carol?
Standing.
It's up to you.
You want to drag me out? Go ahead.
Are you going to leave or not?
No.
It's your last chance. You leaving or not?
and standing.
Are you leaving or not? All right, let's go.
Be aware of what's happening here, folks. That's the thing that I think should be kept in mind by all people who live in the town and who pay taxes, is that there will be a meeting on November 18th, I believe, a town meeting, a budget meeting in which the taxpayers will be asked to consider some projected costs in the budget for next year, and to perhaps be asked to approve the raising of levies. And this is something that was in John Lowry's notes to the Grove, and has been mentioned by at least one or two board members to us personally that they are looking for more money.
Specifically
I think
for roads.
Maintenance was one of those things. So this is so baffling to me as to, if that's the case, why are they doing something that they can't afford? But at least that's how we interpret that. So I hope that people will be watching and go to that meeting and speak up, because perhaps there's still a chance that even if some of the trees are gone, that the aggressiveness in which the road is done can be still modified. I hope that maybe there's still a chance that there could be some modifications made based on the aesthetics and on the cost of the project. And finally, I did want to say that I think that a goal for all of us, and I've heard this more and more from people, is that there should be a countywide effort of people who live in towns and town boards to cooperate in some type of umbrella organization or some kind of umbrella effort to try to preserve what is remaining of the rustic part of Door County that existed in the past in every town on the peninsula, starting, well, even south of Sturgeon Bay. I know that Gibraltar has been having a similar problem. In fact, they talked to members of our neighborhood association, us included, to see what advice we could give them as to how they might be able to work with their board to try to protect their roads, which were being unreasonably cut without any notice, without any plan that these people knew of. And so they have really done a great job of pulling together their community. I've been to some of their meetings, and to have 100 or so people standing in there in the vestibule if they can't get into the room is very impressive. And I think that they have done a good job of convincing their board of directors, or whatever their titles are called in Gibraltar, to listen to them. And they finally, I think, have achieved that, at least partially, and I think that's wonderful. And I think every town should do that. We should all pull together to see what we can do to preserve the beauty of our county as much as possible. Work together, town by town.
I'm going to thank you for participating here this afternoon in this discussion, and I wish you well in the future. This has been Access Door County. I'm your host, Pete Devlin.
When it comes out cold, that habitat is cold. It's typically about 50 degrees. On a really hot day, or if somebody has cut the trees so that the sun gets in there, it'll start warming it up and change that habitat.